Neil from Essex here, out to introduce you to a new segment today. Out here with a new customer named John, who's picking up this L2501. You would have seen John on our channel here a couple of months ago. Sent us in a video for our Ask Essex segment that we often do, but today we're going to do a new segment, Kubotas and Coffee.
Essex, a helping hand with your land.
John here has a channel. What's your channel name?
The channel's called The Bradleys on Catbird Hill. Catbird Hill's the name of our property here that my wife and I were so lucky to find almost 20 years ago.
We'll link to that down at the bottom if you'd like to follow the story of this tractor here. I'm sure we'll get some good video of him out putting it to work.
For sure, for sure.
We've had a great time here today. And one of the things I think I always like to try to represent in the equipment business is that this isn't just a sales transaction, right? A lot of people will approach buying a tractor like buying a car, right? Mm-hmm. Nick actually used to be a car salesman here too, so for a long time. And the relationship here is a lot different, and we've had a great time out here with you today, out, checking out what you do.
And yeah, it's been a blast, and honestly, I was very pleasantly surprised when we started talking about the idea of you guys coming out here and doing a little bit more of a visit, rather than just a drop off. I'm grateful for the drop off of the tractor. I've been coveting this thing for a year now, and but one of the things that really drew me into Essex, because there are other dealers of equipment that are in my area, but one of the things that drew me into Essex was I came upon the YouTube channel that Neil's been doing for years now, and I was immediately impressed with the fact that it wasn't all about making a sale. It was about genuinely informing customers or potential customers, or even people that just want knowledge about equipment, tractors, and their uses. That was the real, you can see that was his real intent in putting out this content. And I just thought that was impressive. It really distinguished them from a lot of the other promotional drives and projects that were other dealers were doing. So that kind of drew me in, and it got me to be a subscriber, and I started watching more and more videos, and then some communication with Neil through email landed me at the desk of Nick, who has been a phenomenal help in guiding me through the decision about what to get, asking me a lot of great questions about what I needed. So that was sort of the genesis of where we are here today.
And the general buying process that you guys would have gone through took how long?
7 months.
Yeah, 7 months.
7 months.
Mm-hmm.
7 months. Mm-hmm.
7 months back and forth. And that is actually not that atypical, really.
No, it's pretty common. I find that in this business, it's more of an intimate relationship with the customer. You're building off of needs and wants, and to determine exactly what tractor or what implements you might need for what you're trying to accomplish isn't, in the car business, it's not a 24-hour purchase. This is something that you're going to use as a tool for a really long time, and it's really important for you to get what's going to suit you best for the future, not just today.
Absolutely. I spent a lot more time with you and on researching buying this tractor than any motor vehicle I've ever purchased before, because it's such a dynamic piece of equipment. It's not transportation like a car or a truck. It's something that's going to have a multitude of uses. And the one thing I'd mentioned on my channel, what led to this decision that we needed to change from the piece of equipment we had, which was a beautiful Kubota BX23 tractor that worked great for a long time, but my wife and I want to live on this property and manage it for a long time ahead, and we just needed something that was going to do heavier work for us, and that's not a decision that you can just make at the drop of a hat. It takes professional guidance. I don't think I would have necessarily made the best decision if it hadn't been through the help of Neil and Nick.
Yeah, and it's a lot of people end up coming in feeling like they wasted our time at that, right? It's you walk into a store like this, start discussing with things with a salesman, and you start to feel some obligation to make a transaction, right? And yeah, I mean, it's not the way that we try to present ourselves to people, right? That's an expectation that you as a customer sometimes will have, is that I've taken this guy's time and I need to do this now, right? But no, I mean, it's a process, right, that we go through to really try to get these things right. But you're shopping, and we've talked about this a little bit with inventory and that kind of stuff. Didn't initially start with just this tractor, right?
Right.
looked at some used ones and stuff along the way. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I was, I guess, in a fortunate position that I wasn't buying out of necessity. I wasn't in a dire situation where I had a piece of equipment that had failed. My existing Kubota BX23 was working just fine. It just, the list of things that it couldn't do for me, for my particular application, seemed to be growing. You kind of get a sense of some of the work involved, just in terms of tree management.
Yeah.
I mean, there's an example of a tree that just got crowded out with shade and died, and I just took a big spruce down here about a month ago and chipped that up. And that's ongoing, and that's where we started to assess what's the best piece of equipment to help us manage some of this bigger stuff. So when I went to Nick and he helped guide me to pretty much what I was going to need, which was something of this scale, the discussion then turned to availability. And obviously the last year has been a crazy year in a lot of industries and certainly has affected agricultural equipment and tractors. And Nick was very upfront in saying, these are strange times, and he threw out to me, would you be interested in used equipment? And I said, sure. So, there was a piece of equipment that came in that was used, and, I got first dibs on that. He, called me up and said, hey, got a piece sitting here on the showroom. I went up and looked at it, and it didn't exactly match what I was looking for, but I think what made me feel even better was, he was looking beyond just what we had talked about. He was sort of canvassing a much larger horizon for things and pieces of equipment that might have met my needs. So that was a huge help to me to know that was going on.
Yeah, I don't know that we've actually spent any time not in touch.
Yeah,
the past 7
that's true. That's true.
I don't know how many emails and phone conversations we've had, but I bet it's over 100.
Quite a bit.
It's been pleasant, ironing out exactly what you need. The tractors with the availability, like I told you, when you finally decided and narrowed down that you wanted to go the new tractor route versus the pre-owned, I told you it was going to be a long wait. I said, it's out of our control. There's several on order. I can't promise you. So my philosophy is always to under-promise and over-deliver. So I think I told you we'd be here sometime in April. And I think I called you towards the end of February saying your tractor's done. We just need to iron out a time to set up a time to come visit.
Sure. Yeah.
We're doing our best to navigate through these crazy times. It's not easy, but I think we're doing a better than average job with what's out there with availability. We have 5 stores. We're a fairly large dealership, and I think we get a lot of inventory, but the problem now is a lot of it's sold before it even gets here. So, everybody's in the boat where it might take 2-3 months to get exactly what you want. But after you wait, if you're not in a dire straits, it's worth the wait to get exactly what you need.
And I think the key there was the communication. I've owned a business for a long time. It's a service-oriented business, and you can't always deliver exactly what a customer needs exactly when they need it for a variety of reasons. That's just the way the world works. The key is the communication. You guys just were stellar with that, not letting me sit here and think, oh geez, I wonder what's going on, I wonder when that tractor's going to show up. Nick's texting me and emailing me, and that makes a huge difference. I mean, that really, for me, from the standpoint of a business owner trying to engage customers, not just to make a sale or to purchase a service, but to have a relationship with that customer for the long term, it all begins with communication, and that's been outstanding. It really has. Yeah,
I think in this business or industry, coming from the car side, I feel like that's probably the largest complaint is the amount of time it takes for a business to reach out after an inquiry to a customer, and I think that's where my background comes into play, where it's minutes, not hours and days to respond. If somebody emails me, I will email back a lot of times immediately and get thanks for the instant response a lot.
Yeah.
So communication is definitely the most important part of building a relationship and having the whole process go smooth. The last thing you want is to drop a ball for a customer you've been working with for 6 months and been patient with you, and so we try to replicate that back to the customer and try to be upfront and respect your time as well.
But the culmination of all that time, all the back and forth that you guys take to get things together and get things right, it's when we come out to do this, right? We've taken some extra time today to make videos, but your delivery process this is not radically different than what happens with most people.
No,
right?
not at all. Other than the fact that sitting here in a chair and having
Coffee, Kubotas and coffee.
Kubotas and coffee.
But it's not any different. You know, we show up with the truck and trailer and we take it off. We kind of do a brief walk around, make sure, you know, the buying customer has no questions on the machine, and then we load up a trade if there is one, and we head back to the shop after you're comfortable and confident with the machinery that you purchase.
And the relationship that's developed in the course of that, the time to be able to go and look at your chainsaw collection, you know,
Yeah.
it's that for us is what really makes this business fun. It's that we can develop that relationship. We can see what people do. We can get out to your properties, and that hopefully too connects all of us together as future needs come up and service needs done and that kind of stuff. Not fair for me to keep dumping on the car business, right? But there's a lot of people come into this buying process with that kind of predisposition because it's in that same kind of price range and it has four wheels, and it's so not the same, right? So I really have come to appreciate that part of what we do.
Definitely. And you know, I think the other thing too that has happened is, you know, the experience has been such a good experience that, you know, without a doubt, I'm gonna recommend if anybody's looking for equipment, you know, and they're gonna come to me and say, hey, I heard, you know, you got a Kubota tractor. Where'd you get? You know where I'm going to send them, because, you know, I'm only going to send somebody to, you know, a business that has treated me like I would want them to treat the person asking me. You know, my reputation is as good as the referral that I make to that person, and that's how my business works. You know, my own day business. So, you know, I think, you know, there is no better advertising than word of mouth. And I mean, you know, whether you're in Pennsylvania, whether you're in California, whether you're in Alaska, you know, if somebody you know and trust has had a good experience and they refer you to somebody else, that's the best marketing you could possibly have. You know,
and I think it's cool too to be able to point out that, toot our own horn here a little bit. It is, when we're buying a piece of equipment, particularly, so many people are apt to grab the glossy spec sheet and flip them over to the back and say which one's got the biggest numbers for the lowest dollar value, right? There is so much more to the equation of buying from the right spot, you know, developing these relationships, and what that ultimately brings you as far as a whole package. Right. It's obviously, we think highly of these guys, but we're going to go and say, toot our own horn. I don't care what Messick's is selling. This is how we do it, right? And it's being able to sell that relationship package, the support, the parts, the connections between people, and that kind of stuff that ultimately I feel like are even so much more important than the machine itself.
Absolutely. You know, it's so funny because in one of my recent YouTube videos, someone had commented on the old tractor, which is the BX23, and I was talking about, you know, it's been a great tractor. And it was just funny because it harkened back to a number of videos you've made, and the person finished their comment with, well, if you're going to buy a tractor, always buy 10 more horsepower than you think you need. and it's sort of, you know, it's counter to the advice that Neil and Nick have given me, and it's been on their channel, that it's not just buy bigger, you know, constantly buy bigger. It's buy what is appropriate for your application.
Right.
And I think that, I mean, I'm not a farmer, you know, I mean, I guess my farming is managing this land here, but, you know, I'm sure that, you know, if you have an ag customer coming in, you know, it's going to be the same process. It's going to be understanding what their needs are and really listening to them just as you listen to me.
Listening the same way, and a lot of times everybody comes from a different background, right? And there's a clientele of customers that understands equipment very, very well. Right, and a lot of times they are telling us, here is what I need. But yeah, I mean, this stuff changes rapidly, especially with emissions technology and new models that come out. And my goodness, I mean, the amount of continuing ed, if you call it that, or training that we all go through.
It doesn't stop. It never stops.
It never stops.
It never stops. It's every couple of months. It's classes and updates and learning and different emissions and what the expectations are for time frames. And that way we can tell our customers when they reach out to us what's coming and what to look for.
Yeah, we're so not traditional salespeople in that way of selling. Yeah, we're selling features and numbers and that kind of stuff and fulfilling a need, but that gosh, that background and the consultative portion of this, of us understanding the industry and what it takes to get things done, is enormous.
I'd love to go to those classes.
Careful what you wish for. That's right. Once you start, you can't stop. They are definitely informative, and it has definitely helped me. I'm fairly new in the tractor side of things, and it's definitely been a smooth process with the way that the sales has been set up through Messick's, with it being family-owned, family-run, relationship-first type of business. It's not about getting the signature on the dotted line. It's about going through the process to get the customer to sign on the dotted line now and in the future. So the last thing we want is to have somebody like John come in and have a bad experience and never see them again. It's about building the relationship and coming out here and spending time in the beautiful property. And when he calls me and says, hey, I need now I have an understanding of what he's looking at and what he's dealing with. And there's the relationship side of things where, it really helps build the foundation for a future, for our relationship. It sounds silly to say it that way. I feel like we ought to be in couples therapy. But at the end of the day, that's kind of what this is all about, is getting to know each other, building the relationship as a customer and a dealership, and kind of having it thrive. So that's important. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to explore this industry, is because I got fed up with kind of shallow exchanges between customer and salesperson on the car side. And it's not everywhere, it's not every customer, but it was becoming more and more regular, and I would like to pride myself on the customer service side of things, and I feel like I can accentuate that through the tractor business. It's not a 24-hour process. This is it's a long-term thing.
Sure.
But I do appreciate your business, and I thank you for the patience it took to get everything here.
Oh, it's been great. I'm already beginning to think about having a Messick's work weekend. So you guys, since we bonded so well, I got a list of projects this long that would require very skilled.
I don't know that I've ever walked into a garage quite like this. This is amazing.
Well, woodworkers have an expression: you can never have too many clamps. Guys who like chainsaws say you can never have too many chainsaws.
Do you have a count?
Oh gosh, I would say probably in the 50s, 60-ish range, somewhere around there.
Complete working.
Yeah. Most of these are, all workable. I mean, they're not used routinely. They've all been drained of fluids, but I've just collected them over the years. I'm just fascinated by them. I think it's probably the neatest example of, an internal combustion engine, just a single piston inside of a cylinder and driving cranks. And, you can learn a lot about mechanics taking one of these apart and just playing with it. And I think the old ones are really neat. I've always appreciated some of the styling of the old chainsaws, the lines, some of them are curved, like some of these old Homolites have more of a circular, design to them. Some are boxy. The McCullochs, kind of have a classic look that's sort of a flat top look, almost like cars. They all have sort of a different look to them.
That's a good analogy.
Not so much today, but back in the day when I was growing up, you could tell a Chevy, 2 blocks away. You could tell a Chrysler and a Ford, just based on the hood design and the tail design of the vehicle.
Yeah, there's a cool artistic aspect to the whole thing. Do you have any particular favorites?
The one that I think you guys had your eye on before, this one here, this is the McCulloch 640. This is a gear drive chainsaw, which you just, obviously you don't go into a power equipment dealership today and find a gear drive chainsaw. But, these saws were developed for big timber cutting. The kind of wood that would be 4 or 5, feet, the tree would be 4 or 5 feet in diameter, at the cut point. And so, the torque that was required of these saws to make the cuts into that tree, gear reduction really helped build that torque. These saws were not built for high chain speed. They were built to keep cutting when that bar was 3 feet into the wood, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, you know, and I'm always amazed, and you guys have had a chance to pick this saw up. You know, it's just it's insane that some guy, you know, muscled this thing around all day, and it weighs probably 35 pounds empty. You know, you load it with fuel and oil, and then not only that, but you know they're holding it at side angles. You know, you think that we're in good, you know, you're in good shape until you try to cut a tree with this.
No need for a gym membership.
No, I don't think those guys went and worked out and lifted weights after they went home for the day. But yeah, so I mean, a lot of...
So special thanks to John for inviting us out to your property and showing off that chainsaw collection. I'd like to see a video all about that. If you're shopping for a piece of equipment, you'd like to build a relationship with guys. You've got a whole bunch of sales guys like Nick who are willing to put in that time with you, get to know your needs, visit your property, and make sure to pair you up with the right piece of equipment. It's the kinds of things that for us as salespeople in this business just bring a little bit more value to what we do than just selling stuff. If you're shopping for a piece of equipment, give us a call at Messick's. We're available at 800-222-3373 or online at Messick's.com. Customers, it's the time that we take under... Oh, shoot!